Hi. It's working. Okay. Well, first of all, I apologize if I might pronounce a word or two. My first language is not English, so I'm learning every day. So it's very rare for me when I was little. I used to be very shy. I started to speak when I was 3.5 years old, something like speech delayed. I had problems speaking. Speech was not my strong point. That's why I decided to study psychology, because I didn't have to talk a lot and I had to listen, understand, and empathize with the pain of others. And that was never a problem for me. I had been silent all my life. I was never much of a talker. Whenever I spoke, there was always that voice that told me, "Do you remember that you had a speech delay when you were little? Do you remember that how bad you pronounce the word? If expressing yourself is not your strong point, you better be quiet." All those voices inside of my head that labeled me as a worthless. I began to know God quietly with those voices in my head. I read more about his word, where there was a prostitute that Jesus defended her, and so they wouldn't stone her. Where the prodigal son spent all his fortune and returned to his father, and he had a feast. Where Moses was called, and he did not want to accept his call, making excuses for his speech problems. Where Jonas did not want to accept his call, and he went to the opposite direction. Where Paul was killing Christians and is surprised by God in the desert. And thousand stories about imperfect people full of mistake and wounds being found by the presence of God and his mercy. And what I read, I saw a God who suffered for his people when they were deceived by other gods, even knowing that he was God good to them, who got angry when he wanted to protect his people and they did not want to follow what he said, even though he gave him all for them to live. I see a God of love and mercy when he delivers his people from the Egyptians, when he heals the son of the king's officials, knowing that he had a higher rank and he didn't have to do it, he did it for love. I see imperfect stories full of pain, lies, and dishonors towards God, when who gives everything. I see mercy and gratitude. When it is not deserved, I see forgiveness, kindness, and love. I see hugs and tears of happiness. I see that we all give our best to be more like him. We are not impure, worthless, or impostors. We are humans and we are sinful and imperfect. And that is why we follow Jesus. Because we need his perfection, his love and hugs in each of our mistakes and sins. We need that voice that say, yes, it's okay, you made a mistake, but it doesn't mean that I'm leaving you. So, Carola, what happened in NYC? So God clearly told me 7 words. With me, you don't have to pretend. I know your situation, I know your pain as if it is were my own. With me, you don't have to pretend. And that set me free. It brought out words in me that were stuck. My fears flew away, and they were no longer there, only Jesus and his presence. And that is when I realized, despite my pain, my mistakes, my shortcomings, my lack of communication, he loves me. And there is no better feeling than being sure that someone loves you. And every time I doubted, I go to his word where he said, with eternal love, I have loved you. I am with you every day until the end of the world. I gave my only begotten son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. 365 times it says in the Bible, do not be afraid. It says that he has not given us a spirit of cowardice, but of powers, love, and self-control. It says, look, I command you to be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, and do not faint, because Jehovah your God will be with you wherever you go. I was silenced for a long time of fear of others. Now I'm going to speak. No out of fear, but because I'm sure of one who loves me. He loved me as I am, and he supports me, and I love who I serve. When you are in love, you show off what you have. Even sometimes I have those voices, but when they come, I remember that before he formed me in my mother's womb, he already knew me. Before I was born, he already chosen me. He already chosen you before. And if you ask yourself, what would happen if I am rejected, or if I am left aside, or if I am not taken into account, remember two things. First, it is more important what God thinks of you, and he has thought of peace and not of evil. Jeremiah 29:11. And second, the first will be the last, and the last will be the first. Matthew 20:16. Do not be afraid to be in the background, or be a tree in the middle of a show, or a small light in the middle of a big theater. But Carola, I have a very small role in the story. Yes, a small but necessary. Without you, maybe your friends would not be here, or maybe your family would not be here. You never know who will be impacted by your word. Therefore, speak up. Thank you.